Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth.
And my name is Rhachel.
We will be talking about the book The Crucible and the podcast Serial.
Okay, let's get started.
In the book The Crucible, there are many people accused of seeing the devil or partaking in devilish acts, but some accusations come from people seeing ordinary events and looking at them like they are very extraordinary.
These events, such as dancing in the woods, cause people to make assumptions of others and make them look guilty of conspiring with the devil, when really they could be doing something that is innocent and causing no harm.
Before we go too far, we'll start by introducing you to some very important people. First off, we have Abigail. She was a young lady who was working for a couple named the Proctors. She had an affair with John Proctor and fell in love with him. As soon as Elizabeth, his wife, found out about the affair, Abigail was quickly removed from their lives. Turns out that Abigail is still in love with John and now wants to replace Elizabeth. She will do anything to take her down. You will see more examples of this later in the podcast.
Her uncle Paris said to Abigail, "Abigail, I have fought here 3 long years to bend these stiff-necked people to me, and now, just now when some good respect is rising for me in the parish, you compromise my very character. I have given you a home, child. I have put clothes upon your back. Now give me upright answer. Your name in the town. It is entirely white, is it not?" This tells us that Paris and probably other people in the town know that Abigail has had an affair with Mr. Proctor.
It also sounds like Reverend Paris, the good person he's known to be, is actually only worried about his reputation in the town and what everyone sees him to be.
That's a good point. Maybe he isn't as good as people say he is. He seems like he only cares about himself and only does things that benefits himself.
Another example that may have been taken wrongly could have been when Mary Warren sewed a papa in court and stuck a needle in its stomach. Abigail could have seen this and taken advantage of this situation.
I agree. Abigail did in fact want to take down Elizabeth Proctor, so she could have made up a story that makes Elizabeth look guilty of conspiring with the devil and trying to hurt her. In fact, Abigail did find a way to make Elizabeth look guilty. According to Reverend Hill, the justifier of witchcraft, stated that Abigail were stabbed tonight and needle were found stuck into her belly. Looks like something is a little strange there.
Those are some pretty good details. If you think that is weird, do you remember when Ann Putnam, mother of Ruth, said that Ruth may have been associating with the devil because Ruth didn't want to spend time with her anymore? That seems pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, and has anyone ever heard of growing up? In the teenage years, you will naturally want some space away from your family. Doesn't seem like anything abnormal to me.
I agree. I've been there.
On the same page of overreacting, or taking things too seriously over ordinary situations, we see something similar in Serial. Anon, a suspect that may have killed Haman Lee, his ex-girlfriend, had many people thinking that he was guilty because of certain things that he did that made his case harder to solve.
That's right. When Jay, a casual acquaintance of Anon's, and Anon himself went over to Kathy's house to hang out, Kathy thought Anon to be very strange and a sketchy person. Anon said the only reason people thought he was acting strange was because he was guilty of killing Hay, and it was a coincidence that Hay happened to go missing that very same day.
It may be possible that it was just a coincidence that Hay went missing on the same exact day, but I think that anyone who just got high in the car before going to a stranger's house would act strange. Kathy didn't know that he just got done smoking weed, and she assumed that Anon was being strange because of the current situation.
In another situation, Anon is accused of making numerous phone calls around the same time that people think Hay is being killed. Some who think Anon is innocent will say that there is no way that a killer would constantly be on his phone throughout the whole murder process.
But others could argue that he was notifying a helper with everything that is going on and wanted them to know right when the situation occurred.
That's right. But what if Anon really is innocent throughout all of this?
If I were him, I'd be pretty upset that they haven't figured out my case 15 years later.
Anon could be innocent and be serving over half his lifetime in prison for a murder he may not have committed. No one really knows to this day if Anon Sayed is guilty of Haman Lee's murder or not.
I agree. Just like in the Crucible, many innocent people were hung with hardly any solid evidence. They were mainly based on assumptions.
Ending on this note, I feel as if both trials have their own ups and downs. There are some things that I agree with and some that I will never agree with.
Right. I feel as if some of these decisions that these characters make are pretty strange. In other words, I would have handled some of the situations way differently.
And that's all we got on today's podcast. Thanks for watching. Well, listening.
Hope you enjoyed it.